Welcome back to The Rising of the Shield Hero Anime Review episode number 21. We are here reviewing the 41st episode of the series, White Tiger Siblings. And I did look this up. This episode adapts from the final chapter of Book 10, Chapter 19, and the epilogue, along with the prologue from Book 11 and the first 5 chapters. Not the entirety, there's a lot of basically trimmed down stuff from these chapters. I basically, now here's the thing, they didn't technically finish adapting with chapter 5. There's like a quarter of it left. It's like left up a cliffhanger, which of course after the credits. It's me. So, basically, here's what happened here. The episode starts off with the shield hero going to the slave market. Well, the uncle of the guy from Muzmuk. So, he basically passes by a couple potential slaves, turns out they're fake slaves, and then, of course, he comes across the White Tiger siblings. Well, the brother asks him to buy him. He just is following, oh, White Tiger, like very rare, and of course they explain a lot of the stuff here. In the book, basically, this is a scene that's done a little bit later, per se, but this is what happens next. So, he comes in, gives basically his sister treatment, and they go off. This scene is heavily trimmed down. Like, there was a lot of stuff happening here. It's like, the way that Nofumi was written here in the book, he was being a bit of a jerk. While basically like, oh haha, basically like that. I mean, this is the star of the book, and he's written to be a bit of a jerk here. And basically that's been excised. Here he's written like a complete gentleman. He gives treatment. Of course, he does mention that there has to be several more treatments of this. And then, of course, he takes the two, transport them over to the village, along with their slaves brought over from Shuna. There's also a thing with Shuna's fall madly in love with Nofumi. Now, I should point out, though, the whole thing of her holding his arm like this actually comes from the end of Book 10. No, seriously. And this is like partway through the episode. And we have the ending of the chapter, ending of the book. Now, the thing is, she actually attempts to kiss him. Yes, seriously. She attempts to kiss him. But he's like, nope, not doing that. The lot of stuff they cut out here is like the fact he's trying to build the village for Raphtalia to basically run over. He goes back home after peace is declared. That's most of what exactly he's doing here. And of course, they have it where like sort of montage stuff going on here. Like we have Fall and Altea. Fall himself gets his level reset at him and Sheena, so they can work underneath him, work on the shield hero. And of course, over time, basically the managers get removed, and of course she gets put into a wheelchair. And of course, siblings have bunk beds to sleep in. Yes, bunk beds. And of course, over time, he gets some branded clothing. He's no longer in rag. He's in pretty decent clothing. Yep. And of course, also, Malty is here, which is interesting because in the book, she was actually not in the village during these chapters. Nope, so her involvement in these chapters is completely anime original. There's also a scene where Nofumi's in his office in his house there, where he's not wearing a regular uniform, he's basically in like casual wear. And Sheena comes in basically drunk, and of course like, oh, this is basically water of life. And of course you have Raphtalia coming with tea. Yep. And really fun scene here. And let's see what else. Oh yeah, after a time, basically you have should hear Raphtalia and everybody. Here's the strange thing though, Philo doesn't really do anything in this episode. If you're really curious, did they cut a lot of her out of the episode? Yes, they did. There's a tiny bit she does. She's here. I believe that she has some lines in the book. I think she speaks toward the end of the episode, but she doesn't do anything in this episode. I'm like, really? Raphtalia doesn't do anything? Well, it's a good thing because this episode is called White Tiger Siblings, and because they're the general focus of the episode. So, Shield Hero goes out with his group, and you have is where Philo is basically having her try to stand. She's successful at, And nightfall comes, and then Soldier comes in. It probably works for the Shield Hero. And Farman's village under attack by slavers. Which, this actually was a scene that's not made up for the anime. Well, here's kind of the thing about this really interesting scene here. This scene is actually something that was mentioned in the prologue for Book 11. Yes. Basically, what the anime did was, basically, you could say, oh, they just made up this scene for the anime because we need some action here. Yes and no. This scene did happen in the book, but happened off screen. Which, good on the anime for basically concluding this. It was like, oh, the village attack was slavers off screen. Yeah, it was an offhand compliment, basically, not what we mentioned in the prologue. And I appreciate the fact they included this. Of course, the slavers basically trying to take the kids. But lucky enough, the Shield Hero returns, and they basically beat the crap out of the slavers, who, and of course, one of the generals, I believe this is a general from the previous season's show, like, oh, these guys were part of the Church of the Three Heroes. The church that was disbanded by the Queen of Melsmook. So, like, Nahumi really wants to execute it for daring to basically attack the village, but because they're associated with nobles, like, can't do it. Like, I know better punishment. I'm showing you guys of slavery in the country that basically is done by demi-humans. They're like, no, anything but that. And of course, they sell for a pretty decent price, too. Yeah, not the first time I've seen where, yeah, bad guy just sold into slavery just cuz. Yeah. So then, pretty much like nulling after this, Alta basically requests become, well, this actually, there's a bit of a conversation where he's talking to Nafumi in his office, which, this scene is like probably about 30 seconds in the anime. In the book, this was like almost an entire chapter. Like, oh my gosh, this was like almost an entire chapter for this. And this is another scene that the anime decided to trim down. Oh my god, this scene was tremendously trimmed down. Like, this took almost half of a chapter, this one conversation alone. So, stuff is included here, at least including the important bits here. It's like, you could say, we're getting to the point, we're basically trimming stuff out, but we're not trimming it out of order like it did last season of the show, which, good job of the anime for doing that. We're already 3 episodes in, and I gotta say the adaptation has done a lot better job than it was in season 2. Because that one adapted scenes out of order. Which, of course, the season got a lot of flack for that. And that's probably the reason why they brought back the director from season 1 for this. And so far, he's doing a pretty much better job. He may be basically cutting stuff, but it's mostly cutting stuff that could easily, like, well, it's fine. It just basically fits the conversation, though they keep the important bits here, so. Oh, and she does fall asleep, and Alta basically back to her room by, well, the Shield Hero. This actually is a change, because in the book, she volunteers to sleep at Nefumi's house, like, in front of the house, like, no, we're not doing that. So he's like, I'll just leave it in Raptalia's room. Because, apparently, Raptalia is out of town. For reasons. Yeah, she doesn't do that in the anime. Nope, she's basically just, sleeps in the bed, and, then, of course, basically the episode ends with the group, with the Wire Tiger siblings, go to the capital, where they run into Trash. Trash sees the Wire Tiger siblings and just sort of recognizes them, and it's revealed in the book that apparently these two are the grandchildren of the king of Salzburg, I think in the country of demi-humans. These two are, in fact, the grandchildren of that guy, who Trash fought years prior as the staff hero. And the only reason why he killed him, because basically his sister was taken. That's the only reason why. So, yeah, then of course basically she explains this, and then the episode ends quite an interesting note, where this actually is the quarterway to the very end, where she reveals the reason why that they're here, because they found the Spear Hero. Yep, because at the start of the season, the heroes disappeared. And yes, this happened. This was mentioned in the book that the hero disappeared. This is a recurring story that happens for a while, and apparently they got to the Spear Hero first. There's no mention of her jerk daughter, Whore. I can't exactly refer to her by her other name because that's considered a swear word, so I'm not going to do it. But I have no problem with her father's trash because basically that's what Nafu refers to him as. So, yep. It's a great episode, and I thoroughly enjoyed the fact they kept a lot of stuff in here. Yep. So yeah, that's that particular view. Yeah, couple comic corners, and just basically we have for tonight. Okay, next video. Bye.